Hello everybody and welcome back to Odin's movie blog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well, and today I wanted to do a video to talk about Mr. Dave Filoni, Cowboy Dave Filoni, who's always rocking the cowboy hat, who I honestly believe should take over Star Wars because he is, as the clip I'm about to show you, the spiritual successor to George Lucas. Check this out.
First off, I want to say, I think I speak for everyone that we love everything you do, Dave.
Yes, absolutely. Dave Filoni's a genius. He needs to take over Star Wars now.
We all believe you are the spiritual successor of George Lucas himself.
Yes. Woo! It sure ain't Kathleen Kennedy, that's for sure.
So when this happened during the live stream, I thought to myself, this is something that is so true, and I really want to make a video dedicated to it because this is something that I really do feel is the future of Star Wars. If Star Wars wants to survive, if they really want to produce more content, if they want the fans to be fully on board, what they need is they need someone who actually loves Star Wars and is fully on board with it. We don't have that right now with J.J. Abrams or with Kathleen Kennedy. J.J. Abrams goes around from franchise to franchise, is given a crap ton of money, and is very great at being able to push out these products to sell a product, but overall, when you look to the stories, there really isn't a whole lot of depth to them. I mean, go ahead and go back to The Force Awakens. You have a lot of bland characters. You have some things that are interesting that were, of course, completely destroyed by Rian Johnson. And obviously, you can go ahead to episode 9 and see that they're obviously trying to retcon a lot of things. There's so many articles now being written by the show media trying to say, are they trying to basically pretend like, The Last Jedi never happened? Are they trying to change things that Rian Johnson did? They kind of course, have to because of the nonsense that he did. But even J.J. Abrams is not perfect. Even J.J. Abrams is still not truly understanding. Kathleen Kennedy is the best example of this because she obviously has no idea. The fact that there are now articles coming out saying that she has a 10-year plan about the future of Star Wars films makes me ask the one question. Where in the hell has this plan been? If you have a plan for 10 years in the future of Star Wars, why in the hell was there no plan for this? If you honestly are going to try and tell me that this was the plan all along, this is a terrible plan. To have 2 films by the same director and 1 film by a different director, and your original plan was to have 3 different films by 3 different directors, all of whom were going to want to take the story in their own direction, and you thought that that was going to be not only a, a cohesive trilogy, but also a trilogy that people were going to actually want to see, a trilogy that was actually going to pay, pay its dues and pay respect to the original, to the work of George Lucas. I'm sorry, but you're full of it. You are totally full of yourself if you honestly are going to try and say that that is the case, because it's not. The one person that understands George Lucas the best, who currently has any type of affiliation, has any type of, I guess authority you could say, with Lucasfilm, is Dave Filoni. He's the only one. Obviously we could try and say that Jon Favreau is maybe, looking to potentially step into that role, but Dave Filoni is the only person that worked directly under George Lucas in a creative capacity. Kathleen Kennedy did not work under him in a creative capacity. She may have been working on as a partner in business with the numbers and with money and all that stuff, and I believe that. I don't deny the fact that she might be a decent, half-decent producer. When it comes to creativity, she has absolutely no creativity. Her one mindset for this entire franchise was, oh my gosh, we need to bring in new fans. We need to force diversity so that we can bring new people in, even though it's going to drive out the old fans, even though it's going to drive out the core base and lead to a situation where a film actually loses money with Solo: A Star Wars Story. If you're going to try and tell me that if Dave Filoni or if someone else had been in charge at the time. I'm not trying to say that Dave Filoni is necessarily going to be someone that could be in charge of producing or anything to that effect, even though I think that at this point, especially at least when it comes to animation, he definitely has experience as a producer, as a writer, as a director of those things. And now, because of, thank God, The Mandalorian, which seems to be the only live action thing that I'm actually looking forward to in the near future, he's actually going to be able to direct live action that. He's actually going to be directing a couple of those episodes, which has me so freaking excited. But you look to what he's done, and you look to the fact that, as I said before, he's the only person that worked directly under George Lucas in a creative capacity. And the fact that this guy speaks so lovingly of Star Wars, has such a strong passion for Star Wars, has dedicated his life to Star Wars for the past, decade, is something that I really think is being overlooked by a lot of people. I mean, I think that out of all the panels that happened this weekend at Star Wars Celebration, his were the best. Whether it was seeing the Rebels Remembered, which was amazing, by the way, and the whole stream is, for some reason, somehow still available on this channel, so go ahead and look that up. It was from, I believe it was on Saturday. that panel went on. Go check it out, because to hear this guy talk about Star Wars makes you actually like Star Wars again. It makes people actually have a passion for it. I know that there's so many people in the comments who are trying to say they're just trying to get you back in. They're just trying to offer you. They're just trying to, dangle, your hopes and dreams, and they're going to crush them. They're going to subvert them. And I definitely believe that when it comes to things like Episode 9, which is why I have an entirely different thought process when it comes to that movie. Because that movie, to me, is totally, clickbait. I think is the best description that I've heard from other people, is that they obviously put The Rise of Skywalker out there. They put in the Palpatine laugh because they wanted to try and bring as many people back to the franchise as they possibly could. Now, there are some people that are on the surface fans that might be brought back by that and say, oh my gosh, this looks exciting. Are they going to do Dark Empire? Are they going to do all these other things? And their minds are going to be racing with the EU, and they're going to remind themselves, oh my God, remember how great the EU is? They're actually going to start implementing some of those things from the comics, some of those things from the stories, and it could be really cool. It could be really awesome. Bring cloning into it. Is he a clone? Is he not a clone? All of these are questions. And I just think to this, and I think to myself, yes, when it comes to Star Wars Episode 9, I do think they're trying to set you up to ultimately disappoint you. Because even if this film is the greatest film of all time, it can't possibly fix this trilogy. Because Episode 8 is there, because you have J.J. Abrams having to go back and retcon so many elements of the story that Rian Johnson put out there, tells me all that I need to know. It tells me that this is a broken story. You can't fix it. Had J.J. Abrams had all three, we might have something cohesive. We might have something that at least works. We may not like it. We might have a lot of issues with it, but at least we'll have a cohesive story. As many issues as I have with the prequels, at least it's cohesive. At least one goes into the other and everything makes sense, and there's one, united vision. Same thing with Dave Filoni's work. When you go to the Clone Wars, it's his work. That is his baby, and he dedicated his time and effort into it and goes on, and it's great. With Rebels, obviously that was under Disney, and it was not nearly as good as Clone Wars because it was not able to really dive into any more, adult or, more mature like stories like Clone Wars was able to do. But he was still able to create new characters with great character arcs, with great, it was again, the Rebels panel was fantastic. Getting to hear the voice actors, getting to hear them talk about the character and Dave Filoni, it shows that they respect him, they love him. This dude knows what he's doing. He worked directly under George Lucas. And as the guy from the video I just showed you, he spoke for so many fans. You heard that response. This guy is indeed the spiritual successor to George Lucas. From a creative perspective, this is the guy that you need writing your stories. This is the guy that you need at the head of that infamous story group. In fact, go ahead and just get rid of the damn story group, get rid of Kathleen Kennedy, put this dude in charge of the story group, let him hire his own team, and then find maybe, John Favreau or someone else who could actually, have that potential to build a vision, who actually has some sort of creativity. I would love for Dave Filoni to be in charge, but I don't know if Dave Filoni would either, number one, want that job in the first place, because he would much rather just be on the projects, working, creating the stories, rather than having to run everything and tell people what to do. But I honestly do think, too, that he would work better in a tandem with somebody else. Let someone else take care of the business aspect, have an actual future vision. So obviously it's going to require some creativity. But let this dude write the stories. Let this guy be the one that gets to be creative. Because as we've seen with Clone Wars and Rebels, and I'm sure with The Mandalorian, and also, of course, Clone Wars Season 7, thank God we're finally getting that. And also, when you hear that panel, if you have not seen that, you can find it online, I'm sure, at this point. But to hear him talk about how protective he was, how seriously he took it, how he said, I'm not just doing this to make money. I'm not just doing this for the sake of doing it. If we're going to do it, we got to do it right. This is a dude that does not compromise. This is a guy that wants to tell the story right. He wants to do things the right way. And he's not going to allow people to push him around. And he's got way too much respect from the fans for them to even try and force him to do anything. Because if anything were to come out and anything was to be not up to his standard, the fans would immediately reject it because they'd be like, this is obviously not him. And what's interesting to me also about this is just to show how detached he really is from this new Star Wars Resistance show. Because Star Wars Resistance, I think, was brought up maybe one time and got a golf clap at best. And even in that time, he said, yeah, the guy's working on Resistance, which tells me that he might be the one in charge of these things. He might be the one at the head, but he is not the creative head of that show. He is not creatively invested in that show the same way he was for Clone Wars and, of course, also for Rebels too. This is a guy that's working again on a new series, is working on going into live action. And if he's able to make that transition, which I think he's going to be able to do, into the live action Mandalorian show, as well as he's going to be able to, he is going to make a strong case that the future of Star Wars should be in this guy's hands. The future of Star Wars should be in Dave Filoni's hands because he's got the passion, he's got the knowledge, and he's got the creativity. He is someone who worked directly under the creativity of George Lucas. He thinks about what George would have wanted. He thinks about how the universe was set up as George set it up, not as he would like it to be, not as the corporate overlords would like it to be, but rather as it should be. George Lucas created this universe. He set it within certain parameters, and, Dave Filoni thinks, before he writes any stories, before he tells any stories, creates any characters, he thinks, does this fit in to the universe that George Lucas set up? And then he follows it from there. This is something that Kathleen Kennedy and J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson and all of the bigger higher-ups like Bob Iger, for example, could really take a note from. And this is also the same mindset that I think is going to be the reason why Endgame is going to be great, because I don't think the Russo brothers, in a similar way, bow to the corporate overlords either. They tell the stories that they want to tell, and they say, no, this is going to be our story if you really want us to be on. Let me tell it the right way. Dave Filoni is the same exact way. And this is a guy that obviously does not compromise. It was so great to hear him talk this weekend about his trust tree and how just the fact that that's even a concept, and how there are very few people that ever really know anything that's going on at once, because he wants to make sure that everything is self-contained. He wants to make sure everything is taken seriously and professionally. And yet at the same time, this dude is just so much freaking fun. And again, please watch the Rebels panel, watch the Clone Wars panel, watch anything he's done. I also put an interview up on the Welcome to Asgard channel where he basically is, sitting down doing an interview, and the fans love him. Like, seriously, they were doing interviews with other people before and there was no one there. Dave Filoni gets on stage and all of a sudden everyone's there. And it was freaking perfect because everyone loves him. Everyone loves the work that he's done. Everyone knows that this dude knows what he's doing, that he loves Star Wars. We don't get that same feeling for Kathleen Kennedy. She's the one, wearing the shorts and the first is female, and oh yeah, female empowerment, and oh yeah, we care about George, but then we're going to make the movies that obviously crap all over George. This dude says, I respect him, I respect his vision, and then he goes ahead and does it. This is the man that we need running Star Wars today. Again, we even had this article from the hashtag show. Don't really know much about it. It's all obviously speculation on their part, saying, Dave Filoni take over the Star Wars franchise from Kathleen Kennedy? I know a lot of people would be on board. I know that a lot of people would be supporting it if they actually did it. I don't really see that happening in the near future because obviously Kathleen Kennedy has her contract extension, which will go at least for another few years. There was someone that we ran into, me and Jeff from World Class BSers, we actually ran into somebody who claimed to have inside information, so obviously take it with a gigantic grain of salt, who said they were trying to work her out by 2022, and seemed to indicate that Jon Favreau might indeed be the person that they're going to try and put in place as the new head of Lucasfilm, which, to be honest, at this point in time, seeing what he's doing with The Mandalorian, with the live action stuff, bringing people like Dave Filoni and Taika Waititi in, true creative geniuses of their craft, I am so freaking excited. I honestly am excited for Star Wars again, and I never thought that I would. And to be honest, it wasn't even The Mandalorian. It wasn't even the various trailers that I was seeing. It was this man. It was this guy. I had already seen Clone Wars. I had already seen Rebels. But I never really actually heard this guy talk. I knew who he was. I kept hearing his name, but I never actually got to see him in person. To see him in person and to see the passion and love he has for the fans, for the stories, for George Lucas, that to me won me over. And so I'm by no means shilling for Disney, and I'm going to keep on going after Disney. As I said before, the one thing that I will not do is when it comes to Episode 9, unless they blow it out of the water, and even if they do blow it out of the water, it's not going to fix Episode 8. I look at that and I say, no, I'm not interested. It's clickbait. They're trying to get people in, and they literally jumped the TIE Fighter. Like, literally, they jumped the TIE Fighter. Dave Filoni, though, he knows what he's doing. Hearing him talk about Star Wars enkindled a fire within me that I have not had for a while. And so to have finally a love for Star Wars again, going back and thinking about how much I loved Rebels, how much I love Clone Wars, how much I'm looking forward to what he's going to do with the episode, with Season 7 of Clone Wars, and also what he's going to be doing with Mandalorian. This is the dude I'm looking forward to. This is the dude who's still young enough to take over in some capacity. Can you imagine? To me, I think one of the perfect combos of all time would be a Jon Favreau as the head executive of Lucasfilm, with Dave Filoni as number 2 head of creative. If that doesn't happen, I don't know if Star Wars can be saved. But if you have those two, with everything that seems to be indicated by what they're doing with Mandalorian, and again, we still haven't seen the Mandalorian, we still don't have a official real, we have a trailer, we have certain elements of the story that we can talk about, so until we actually see the show, we can't speak for sure. But just based on how seriously Jon Favreau takes it, how they went back to look at flight patterns from the original trilogy just to make sure that everything was pitch perfect, went back to models, went back to practical effects, went old school with it. And the fact that you have Dave Filoni, who has an old school creativity about him that's very much similar to George Lucas, has me excited. So again, this is my full endorsement of Dave Filoni for the future head of creative at the very least, if not head of Lucasfilm, to be honest, because he's hilarious and he's fantastic. But guys, what are y'all's thoughts about this? Not to mention, he obviously cares about his shows enough. He says that he went to a surprising length to protect the epilogue of Star Wars Rebels. So he revealed that he did not tell anyone except for like 1 or 2 people how Rebels was going to end with the epilogue, with basically when it went forward, it fast forwarded through time, past the other movies that it was kind of setting up, and instead decided to tell a recap of the various things. and he only told certain people. Again, he had that trust tree, and he went above and beyond to protect it. This is a man that loves it. This was his baby. This was something that he wanted to protect. And we need someone like that running Star Wars right now, because right now we have people that don't care. They see it as money. They see it as an opportunity to get their vision and to get their, their politics out there. We don't need that crap. We don't want that crap. We want good storytelling. And that starts and ends with Dave Filoni. And of course, I honestly think with Jon Favreau as well, because The Mandalorian, Jon Favreau, and Dave Filoni, seeing them on stage together and talk about it looked freaking awesome. But anyway, guys, what are y'all thoughts about this? Do you think that Dave Filoni should be the president of Lucasfilm? Or like me, do you think that maybe it should be a Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni? Obviously, there's other people that could take on that executive role, but I want someone who's actually made films. I want someone who's actually been behind the creative lens of a project, because obviously you need someone like that who's going to have an actual vision. Kathleen Kennedy can say she's got a 10-year plan, all the hell she wants, but in her 10-year plan, it still includes Rian Johnson. It still includes another trilogy. On top of that, they've already said they're going to put a halt on Star Wars films for a while, because obviously they're going to want to focus specifically on their Disney streaming service and make sure that's successful. And I look at that, and I look at what Kathleen Kennedy's doing, and then I look at what Dave Filoni's doing, and I see there is much more excitement for what Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are doing than anything that Kathleen Kennedy is fully attached to. And as the poll from my last video showed, 93% of people that responded, I need to get the hard numbers in a second, 93% of people responded and said they're more excited for The Mandalorian than they am for Episode 9. And I think that speaks volumes. But anyway, let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Also, if you like this video, smash the like button. Give me a subscribe. You're all amazing and beautiful people. Seriously, click the bell, because YouTube does not like to notify people when things happen. And also, I need to give a huge shout out to my boy, Bruce. Bruce knew and heard on a stream that I have never seen Akira. I know. Calm down. I have it now. And so he went out of his way to buy me the Blu-ray DVD combo pack for it. And let me just say, this is going to be a movie that's going to be watched sometime this week. And again, Bruce, thank you very much. I'm going to give you a shout out on the stream tonight as well. Back to a regular stream schedule tonight with the Welcome to Asgard around 6:30 Central Standard Time. Very sorry that things have been kind of crazy this weekend. There's so many other things I want to talk about. There's so many videos that I want to make, Star Wars related, non-Star Wars related, because there's just been so much that's been going on. And as you guys know, there's a lot going on behind, in my life and behind me right now with my dogs. So thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful day. And as always, God bless.